And we are live and welcome back, everyone. This is going to be day 2 of Dare to Be Great 2020, and we've got a lot in store for you. Big lineup, and this is going to be good. Good morning to all of you. We've been watching the comments and everyone checking in from different states and all. So thank you again for being here with us. I have today my good friend, keynote speaker, starting it out today is Joe McCarville. And Joe has 20 years of experience in the 911 emergency communications field. Over the course of the 20 years, Joe has been a dispatcher and manager for countywide consolidation and is currently the operations manager for the Cedar Rapids, Iowa Joint Communications Agency. Joe is a certified emergency number professional and is also certified in emergency medical, police, and fire dispatch through the International Academy of Emergency Dispatch. Joe also served as the Iowa APCO president from 2015 to 2018, and he is also a certified John Maxwell team speaker and incorporates some of the best personal development and leadership material into his training classes. Again, welcome all of you. Welcome, Joe, and take it away, my friend.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Dare to Be Great 2020 free virtual training for 911 dispatchers. This conference would not be possible without all of you watching and dialing in and registering. So thank you to all of you for coming back for day number 2. Go ahead and throw me up a good morning. I'll try to watch as many comments as I possibly can. But thank you to all of you. With that being said, if you registered for day number 1 and were unable to attend, maybe you got mandatory overtime. Who likes that crap? All right, and you weren't able to attend, just know that Ricardo's taking good care of us, and he has the replays up. So make sure you all go back and watch all of the replays from yesterday, because there were some phenomenal presentations and some excellent speakers that delivered great information for all of you. Proud to be a part of this conference, proud to be kicking off today's session. The topic I decided to choose was 911 today. Why did I choose that topic? Because I wanted to make sure I related to as many 911 centers and PSAPs as possible. The topic's going to touch on COVID-19. And I know you're getting a lot of information on that. And Jim Marshall came out yesterday with the mask on and everything else. What a great session that was. And you may feel overwhelmed by this information. So what I'm going to try to do is keep it a little lighthearted, share what my own agency has done, share a story that brought some knowledge to me going through this previous to that. Also give you some steps about leading yourself through a crisis or leading your team through a crisis. And then really at the end, I'm going to focus on all of the positives that have come out of this personally and professionally, because we cannot forget those things, as we want to make sure we focus on those as well during such a trying time for 911 dispatch centers. With that being said, before I get started, I just have to share the story of when Ricardo Martinez called me and said, "Joe, will you please open up session number 2? I want you to be the keynote speaker." You see, I happened to be cooking bacon and eggs at the time, and it was an interesting conversation because I went to flip the bacon just as Ricardo had asked me, "Hey, will you be the keynote speaker on day number 2? And if you know me, I'm really high energy. Maybe I talk a little quick. I'll try to slow it down a little bit, but I'm passionate about what I do. I love it, and I'm just really high energy." And I got really excited when he asked me that question, because I was having the opportunity to fulfill a dream of speaking to everybody around the nation. And the spatula went a little bit higher as I got excited. The bacon flipped out of the pan, and I have a gas stove and a gas oven, got underneath the pan, and the fire started coming out just a little bit. And Ricardo saying, "Would you like to be the keynote speaker on day number 2? And I'm taking the spatula trying to whack the fire out of it. And then I got smart and just turned the gas stove off. And Ricardo waited patiently for 8-10 seconds. And he goes, "Don't be so excited, Joe." I didn't even give Ricardo an answer. I said nothing to Ricardo. And then I said, "Oh, let's relive that moment here really quick, because I am super excited to be kicking off day number 2. And Ricardo, thanks for the opportunity. I got the fire put out. It was a very minor ordeal, and I am happy to be here." So before I go into the COVID-19 pandemic, one of the things I want to talk about is an experience that I had in 2006. In 2006, our captain came into my office and said, "Joe, we need to meet." took me into the office of the fire chief, police chief, and he said, our building is going to go through mudjacking. At the time, I had no idea, none, what mudjacking was. So I asked, what's mudjacking? And he said, well, you need to make preparations because people are going to be coming into the dispatch center, into the public safety building, and they're going to be jackhammering through the full floor and down to the foundation. So it's going to be a little loud. And I said, how loud? He goes, you're not going to be able to hear. We need to make precautions. So I started researching what mudjacking is, and I seen mudjacking is effective for raising it on concrete, porches, patios, the highlighted line on your screen. What I did see was effective for 911 centers. Talk about a challenge. So it ended up making it to the paper, and what I did was I planned accordingly, and we ended up setting a few dispatch councils up in an emergency dispatch trailer right outside the dispatch offices. And when they were jackhammering outside, we were working inside. And when they were jackhammering inside, we were working outside. I'm proud to say that we set it up and we had access to our CAD, our records management system, civil, jail, 911 phones, non-emergency calls, and we even had access to the intercom. So when that side of the building wasn't being utilized and the public was still coming in, we also served the public that would walk up to the front door by keying up on an intercom, and we could do that from inside our center as well as outside our center. But like I said, it continued. If you just look at the first sentence on that slide, for 4 to 6 weeks, this was not a short period of time. This is something that prolonged itself over the course of a month plus. Now, one of the last days where the walls actually started to raise, because what mudjacking is they pump a sludge-like mixture, my understanding, down through the holes onto the foundation and raise it up, under the foundation and raise it up so that the walls that were sinking in your building, that's right, we had sinking walls. The building happened to be built on a little creek or a stream. And so they wanted to raise that side of the building back up to where it was originally built. And so we did that for 4 to 6 weeks. But when the walls actually started to raise, I got a phone call at home from our dispatchers. They said, hey, Joe, you need to get to work right away. And I asked, why do I need to come to work right away? They said, just get here. So I drive into work, and it was really funny, and I want to give them a shout out. They had a positive attitude. They were laughing and smiling. And they ended up working with our high-risk and tactical unit, and they got helmets put on and blankets thrown over them, because what happened when the walls started to raise were the pictures that we had on the wall started to fall. Notebooks, because our dispatch councils were level at the time, but once that side of the floor started to raise just a little bit, notebooks were sliding off and everything else. But they continued to dispatch, continued to do a great job, and I'm more proud of them than anything, and they had on all their tactical gear. So how does this story relate to 911 today? Well, one of the things that I did was I separated our dispatchers. At times, I had one dispatcher in the PSAP doing stuff that needed to be done in there, and I had other dispatchers outside in the emergency response vehicle. Maybe you're separating some of your dispatchers today with the COVID-19 pandemic. Maybe you're working in different rooms. Maybe you're working different hours. Maybe you're not allowing people to share councils if you have a large PSAP, whatever it is that you might be doing. And then the helmet story, the riot gear, okay? They were wearing helmets. Today, maybe you're wearing masks. And I know maybe you can't hear me very well as I talk like this, but maybe you're wearing a mask in your PSAP to help protect yourself. The other thing is I provided backup resources utilizing our own dispatchers by having the emergency response trailer. We didn't call on another agency to assist us during this time. Have you talked to your backup PSAPs about what would happen if COVID-19 struck your 911 dispatch center? Some people have mutual aid agreements for evacuation, fires, tornadoes, just devastating your hurricanes, devastating your 911 center. Maybe your backup PSAP is another 911 center. Have you asked them if all of a sudden you need to close down for a day, a week to disinfect your center, if they will take other dispatchers that haven't had any symptoms into their 911 center? Maybe it's something you want to do. So I ask you, what have you done at your agency to date? This is what our agency has done. And before I start, I want to say on a national level, it is awesome to work with the Cedar Rapids, Iowa Joint Communications Agency dispatchers. I am beyond proud of the team that's working through this pandemic. Thank you to all of you. Keep up the great work. But in late January, go ahead and throw up some comments on the date that your agency took action to address the COVID-19 pandemic. The first step that was taken. I don't care if it's an informational email whatever it might be. Just go ahead and put up some comments of the month. But in late January, I started seeing emails from some of the national training providers that dispatchers go to national conferences for, including the International Academy of Emergency Dispatch, the Association of Public Safety Communication Officials, and the National Emergency Number Association. And I started reading them. And then I came home and did a little more research, and I read about it, and I said, is this going to impact us? And so I sent an email to our law enforcement, fire, and medical responders, and I said, we should get together. I sent that email about 3/4 of the way through January, and we had our first training meeting in January of how we were going to address the COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, it hadn't reached us, but I'm proud to say our agency implemented pre-screening questions on callers for medical calls, citizens assist calls. And we started protecting our emergency responders in late January. I'm really proud of that fact. In March, early March, we locked down our dispatch center to where only dispatchers were allowed inside the dispatch center. Now, we work on the 3rd floor of a police department, and police officers are used to coming into our building to get paperwork, and we're proud to help them. But we decided we'd find other ways to make that happen. We also implemented a hand washing station and a sanitization station right outside the dispatch door and said nobody comes in without hand washing and everything else. One of the other most important things that we did was we set up a conference call with our backup PSAPs and larger PSAPs for the state of Iowa. And we meet bi-weekly. For any PSAP that would ring to us if they had a major evacuation, or any PSAP or our calls would ring to or we would go to long-term, we set up a bi-weekly conference call with the managers, and we just asked questions of what are you doing to address COVID pandemic? What have you done to make your staff feel protected? And everything else. And it was good to do that because we were able to then see what other agencies have done and keeping an eye on staffing levels for agencies whose calls may be coming to us. And lastly, in March, my boss challenged me and he said, Joe, we need to implement some isolation barriers in our 911 center to separate the dispatchers as much as possible. Now, we knew going into it may not do a lot for the type of pandemic that this is about, but we wanted to do anything we could to make our dispatchers feel more safe. So this is one of our dispatch consoles right now. You can see that the gray T at the end is where our frame sets, and there was not much protection once you got over the monitors. We do have the desks that raise and lower and everything else, and it works great for communicating about calls. We're close knit to each other, but it also provided some interesting dilemmas in dealing with this pandemic. So I contacted our building maintenance team and I said, we need to raise our consoles up. And under 24 hours, I'm super proud of the city of Cedar Rapids. They built these things and came over and installed them. We have an 8-seat PSAP dispatch center, and they installed these things. That you can see they rested right on top of our dispatch furniture, and they also have plexiglass in them as well. So that's what the dispatch council looked like afterwards, so that they were raised up. There's been some jokes that have been made about them as snot guards or cough guards or whatever it is that you want to call them. But for us, it's provided a sense of security and a sense of safety and everything else, no matter how well or how effective they are at working. One of the things that I said I would talk about during this keynote is ways to lead yourself during a crisis. Everybody wants a few tips or a few tricks. As Ricardo said in my introduction, I am a John Maxwell Team Certified Instructor. What that means is I went out and got certified by John Maxwell to be a speaker. If you don't know who John Maxwell is, he's viewed as by many as the #1 person in the world on personal development and leadership and communication. And I decided when Ricardo contacted me and said, we're going to do a Dare to Be Great type conference. The topic I chose for the entry video for this conference, and you can go back and watch it. I'm even wearing the same shirt when I filmed it. Dare to be constantly improving. That's how I said it then. And then I challenged myself. I needed to be constantly improving. So what have I done? I sat there and I watched webinars from leaders all over the nation, whether it be military people that write books and have national bestsellers, John Maxwell, somebody that motivates you. I needed some motivation to make sure I stayed positive for my staff. And some of the tips that I found for leading yourself during a crisis was they defined what a crisis was for me. And they said, crisis is a time of uncertainty. And for me, it hit home. And they said the only problem was this uncertainty is dragging itself out a little longer than normal. 911 dispatchers, that's who I'm talking to this morning. I'm talking to all of you watching right now. You are all experts at dealing with uncertainty. I'll prove it to you. Every time you answer the 911 phone, every single time you answer the 911 phone, you have no idea what you're going to get on the other end. Now, granted, that might exclude some frequent flyer callers where you recognize the number before you answer with your 911 greeting. But I'm going to go with every time you still don't know what they want. All right. So you deal with uncertainty, but then you go back to relying on your training, your policies, your protocols, and everything else. These type of calls take us out of automatic a little bit. Most people would give anything right now, anything, to have routine back, to be able to hug your parent, grandparent, kids, child, whatever it might be. Most people would give anything back right now to have routine back. But right now we're out of automatic because we're dealing with a crisis. But it also provides us with leadership opportunities. Everybody right now wants to be led. You don't need a title. You don't need a position. You don't need anything to lead your agency right now. I'll give you a simple definition of leadership, and it comes from Mr. Maxwell. Leadership is influence, nothing less, nothing more. Show me a dispatcher that has influence over your dispatch center. I'll tell you they're a leader. Sometimes it could be a positive leader. Sometimes it might be a negative leader. But hopefully your positive leaders that have influence on your center are stepping up. Every one of you can take action and do it. You just have to be able to see opportunity. And opportunity sets on the other side of a problem. Some people you'll hear say, above my pay grade, I'm out. See ya. Somebody else can make that decision. What that is that's the wall, the problem wall. You have to be willing to see the opportunities that are on the other side of this, learning more about your equipment, learning more about your dispatch protocols, your policies, your procedures, going over it with each other. Because if you focus on today and prepare for today, you will not have to repair tomorrow. So prepare for today so we're not repairing tomorrow. It also reintroduces us to humility. A 30-year veteran and a 1-week employee, it doesn't matter. We're getting new policies, new procedures where we all need to come together. The phrase a lot of times is dispatchers need to work or pull together when the shit hits the fan. I hope all of you are pulling together right now because it has hit the fan. We're in the middle of a national crisis where everybody needs to band together. It also tests our learning. It really tests our learning. National conferences have been canceled. State conferences have been canceled. 8-hour in-session classes have been canceled. What do? We put together the Dare to Be Great 2020 conference. Why? Because 911 dispatchers, we are a resilient group. Now's our time to band together. All right. And will things be different moving forward? I believe that they most likely will, whether it's personally or professionally or anything else. And that's why I challenge all of you to make sure you find the positives that have come from the COVID-19 pandemic. Small wins become big wins, and big wins keep a staff and keep an agency moving forward. Okay, so make sure you focus on the positives. What's been the positive out of this for me personally? The Dare to Be Great 2020 conference. In 2017, I started 911 Gold Line training with a dream. I wanted to make sure that I added value to 911 dispatchers all over the nation. I didn't know in 2019 that I would be going to Ireland to speak to 999 emergency dispatchers. I've been to several other states, and I'm hopefully going to be coming to a state near you soon. Okay, that's what's been great for me out of this COVID-19 pandemic, is getting to reach all of you today. And I also come back and speak tomorrow more on that in just a second. Personally, for me, it's been video conferences. I had the opportunity to connect with somebody. I was a best man in their wedding, and it was his 40th birthday party the other day. And a bunch of us friends got together and we celebrated on video conferencing. We haven't seen each other in 9 years. I don't know if we would have got together at all if it weren't for this. I got to see some of my best friends. The other thing is I have a cousin whose son is graduating this year. Okay, congratulations, Mason, and good luck in college. All right, we got together for a jam session on guitar. He's really good at the guitar. He's really good at singing. I'm really not. So I got a lot of information from him, and we had a great time with a lot of laughs. And lastly, I had some amazing friends and we got together from high school and we watched the first round of the NFL draft together and talk about laughter and everything else. I have had some great laughs and a great time to de-stress with friends and family and making sure I connect. And as far as family goes, my dad and stepmom have delivered. They're awesome. Meals to people, all of us kids, just dropping them off and leaving since the family can't get together. And my mom even came down and helped me prepare by hanging a bed sheet to block the light. So hopefully there's not too many shadows on me today. Thank you to my family and friends. But other dispatchers have asked me, what can we do to pay it forward? Ricardo's even been hit up with the question of, I want to pay money to register for the conference. I want to sponsor the conference, whatever it might be. And I want to share with you how I am going to pay it forward. I'm going to pay it forward at noon today in 8 minutes. And it's ironic that it ends at this time because I had no idea this was the case when I was asked to do the Day 2 keynote conference. All dispatchers have the opportunity to pay it forward. If you don't know anything about the Denise Amber Lee Foundation, the president and CEO of this organization is Nathan Lee. His class is absolutely phenomenal. At the time, his wife was kidnapped, taken out of their residence, and murdered. And Nathan goes around and pays it forward to 911 dispatchers and provides some of the best training, quality assurance, making sure state training standards are up to par. And he believes in all of us and pays it forward to all 911 dispatchers. At noon today, I will be going online and making a donation because from noon today, Eastern time, and noon tomorrow, any donation made to the Denise Amber Lee Foundation, you can go to their Facebook page to reach it, will be matched. Donation of $25 to $100 will be matched. But you have to do it at noon today or noon tomorrow. If you're willing to follow my idea and pay it forward, and you don't have to, only if you can or are able to, but if you're willing to, make sure Nathan Lee sees some love in these comments over here and just write a thumbs up or I'm donating or I'm willing to pay it forward or boom or whatever it is that you want to leave. I would absolutely love it if other people follow my lead because it's a way for all of us to band together and give a foundation that needs some donations at a time when training classes have been canceled. Nathan, mark my words, noon today, I'm making a donation. It's a privilege and an honor to know you, man, and I am proud to do this for you. And yes, it was my idea. I promise he didn't know this was coming until I told him I was going to do it. So I hope the keynote, you found some energy in it. I hope all of you have a great conference. If you saw some energy, please come back for day 3. I'm going to be doing an hour session called Everyone Communicates, 911 Needs to Connect. I promise laughs. I promise you'll have a good time. Stay tuned with all of us. There's some excellent speakers coming up for the rest of day 2. And I got 30 minutes to kick this off on day 2 and bring some energy. And I hope all of you felt it, seen it, heard it. And thank you to all of you for coming back. Have a great conference. Ricardo, you can come back in and take it over, my man, and kick us off for the rest of day 2.
All right, all right. Well, I did my Matthew McConaughey thing there. All right, all right, all right. Thank you, man. Thank you. That was excellent. And I love hearing you speak. It is good to be in here. I was in a session with of yours in Tennessee. What was it, just this past fall, right? And that was a lot of fun as well to see you in your element and to see everyone get into it. That's what I love the most is the energy. And even when I was there as the closing speaker in Iowa, we were in there with all the industry partners, and we're going through one of your stories, and that was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
that was pretty awesome. Right there.
Ricardo, I'm going to come on open mic night one of the nights. You can say what the dates and the times are. I'm going to tell that same story since you referenced it here. So anybody that wants to hear it, you make sure you join us on an open mic night coming up soon. Ricardo will put out a blast about it, and I'll go ahead and just share that story when I have more time.
Dude, that'll be awesome, and that'll be tonight. It's Tuesday, so open mic will be tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern time, and that'll be live on Facebook and Twitter. Now, before we've got a few minutes here, and I want to see if there were any questions pertaining to the session. It looks like all the ones that are in here are just questions that were asked for other things. But for poll wise, so the poll that you had that we had put up here is has your agency taken any safety precautions in your center as it pertains to COVID-19? And for the information that is on here, with 188 votes, 97.4% said yes, and then 2.6% said no.
That's good. Hopefully everybody's taking precautions. I'm glad to see that such a high percentage. So I got to ask you, Ricardo, did I do it?
I didn't really notice it that much. You were moving pretty good, and so yeah, we've got some time here. So for everyone who's watching right now, Joe and I did a late night test run. Like we were testing some stuff, and Joe, if you put your head over there again, okay. So everyone who is watching on his screen, I was telling him at the end of it, I said, so you did great. Everything was working fine. The only thing is that when you move your head over a little bit, it looks like it says 911 old line training. So then he was able to just move it again, and then it's like line training, and then go training. So it made it funny that, so we were saying, it might be a focal point if anyone notices it. Anyone who's watching right now, because this is pretty much real time as we're going through this. Did you notice it? Did anyone notice that his head was covering the G, that it said old line training at any time? So in the comments, a lot of people are just laughing right now.
That's good. So my real contact information is now on the screen. It's visible, but it's www.911gold, not old, gold line training. And my email is joe@911goldlinetraining.com. You can also find us on social media and Facebook and Instagram at 911 Gold Line Training, but Twitter, that's too long of a name. So it's 911 Gold Line TRG for Twitter. So that's where I'm at. You can locate me there and send me an email anytime you want, and I'll try to get you an answer as soon as I can. Thanks, everybody.
That is excellent, man. So I focused the screen so that everybody could see it as well. And I did that partially through your session because people were trying to, I think, probably take maybe screenshots or something, and it was kind of small. So I focused it to make it big so that everyone could see it. And just like your contact information right now, everyone can see it very well. And just so you know, everyone again is laughing and chuckling with the old line training thing, but people didn't notice it at all. And someone even put in here, for some of us it is old.
And for that person that said for some of it is old, if you come back tomorrow in my session and within the first 20 minutes I give a shout out to the 10, 15, 20, 30 year dispatchers that will remember the zip printers that go back and forth. And we had to put a cage over because they were so loud. So all my dispatchers with a lot of experience, come back and join me for tomorrow. I'll plan to bring the energy again. It's a true honor and a privilege to have you guys watching today. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you again, my friend, for jumping on and for being the keynote speaker. That was excellent. For everyone who is watching right now, we are going to go to the next session. I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast. Once I do, you are still going to be in the chat room and you can comment or anything that you want. But it's going to pop up something that says that replay is going to start, and I'm going to go into the next session and I'm going to bring you all with me. And then the next session is with Adam Tim for Frontline Leadership, How to Embrace Change While Making a Difference. And that starts at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time. So we'll see you in the next session.
See you, Ricardo.
See ya.